Hello and welcome back to the workshop. So first of all, I'd just like to thank everyone who's watched episode 1, and that's sort of motivated me to keep going and make this second episode. So in this one we're going to be looking at the stable door. So we're going to go out on site and have a look at the opening itself, get a few measurements. I'm going to show you a few other little bits that we've been on with on site, and it's a nice big old French farmhouse, and we're going to be doing hopefully plenty of work there. So we're going to look at the stable door and more in detail on the bottom panel, which is going to be made up of tongue and groove boards, and it's going to be a nice little detail with the shadow gap and little chamfer down the shadow gap. So we'll crack on with that, and I'll see you in a bit. I'm just out on site at the moment, and what I'm doing is I'm measuring for the opening of the stable door. This is the property where I've been doing quite a lot of work recently, and I've done quite a bit of prep work, just ready for installing the door. So this oak lintel got replaced. There's a brand new lintel there, and that gives me a really good point of reference where I'm measuring to, because the header on the frame is going to sit right behind the lintel here. So it gives me a good reference point to measure to, and what I just tend to do is measure both sides. So we've got 205, 205. There we go. So that gives me a good reference point. I've got the height of my frame at the moment, so all I need to allow for is sill, header, and then obviously sides. But that can depend really, especially on these old stone buildings. It can change quite a lot depending on the stone work. So there'll be a little bit of prep work to do there when it comes to installing the new door. And obviously, as you can see, it definitely needs a new door. This one's just some tongue and groove boards put together. I mean, it's been there for years, but obviously it's no good for aesthetics really, or insulation values. So I've had to build up this bottom step as well, and I'll just change the angle on that so you can see. So all it is a bit of stonework on the front. So I put a little concrete footing in down here, stone face, and then filled it in with concrete, get it nice and flat. Again, gives you a good reference point to work from. So as you can see, the difference in between the two here, so this is your inside floor level. Obviously it's not finished floor because you're still going to have tile on top of that, but these are going to have some big either stone flags or tiles as well. So we've got 60mm difference between the two, and I just need to keep that in mind when I am coming to do the door, because obviously you've got the height of your sill, but then you don't want your door catching on your internal floor, so that needs to be raised up, tile, etc., and then we can work off that. So as long as I keep that in mind when I'm taking all my measurements, and keep it all fresh in my head, and make sure I write it down, make sure I go back to my notes, should be all good. This is another thing that I've been working on site recently. It's these two stone pillars, big gate pillars. It's going to have two big gates. I'll show you in a minute, but yeah, so these have got basically a cubic meter of concrete underneath as a footing, with a big, I think it's a 110 or 120 by 120 I-beam that runs top to bottom all the way through, and then I just stone faced around the outside. There's quite a few little details on this that are kind of cool as well. So a bit of a recess there, which just offsets it with the sun and the shade, makes it look quite nice. Little cubby hole there for a key fob eventually. And then I've already run all of the electrical conduit inside the pillars as well. As you can see, it comes in there, up to there for the lights, and then it runs down under the ground to the second pillar, and then there you can see second light, which all aligned with the other one. So yeah, oh yeah, little post box as well was integrated into the pillar. But yeah, something that I really enjoyed doing. It took a bit of time and a bit of working out, but we got there in the end. So again, recess is just matched on this side, and that, you know, just gives it a little bit more character really. Yeah, a quick look at the gates that are going to be installed on those gate pillars. So it's all handmade, and so you got the name of the house down the bottom there, La Louverie. So all handmade from individual pieces, and obviously I didn't make this. It's a bit too complicated for me, and I've got you on a wide angle view there just so you can get it all in, 'cause it is a pretty big gate. So that's why I wanted to make sure that the footings on the gate pillars and you know, having the I-beam run right the way through, just make sure that they're never gonna move. So there we go. This is pretty much what I'm trying to achieve here for this bottom panel. So I've cut tongue and a groove into each one of these boards, and they're going to come and sit together with a little 1mm gap down the middle. Now, I'm not yet decided on how I'm going to glue it, because obviously I need to allow for expansion. But if you imagine that this is bottom plate of your panel, so that's got a groove cut into it, and then got a tongue on this one here, so all the boards are going to sit inside the panel like that, with a little 1mm gap in between. And as you can see, it's tight in the middle where the groove is, but obviously we want to keep that little shadow gap in there. So I'll give you a quick demonstration of what I'm kind of doing right now. And so on obviously one of them where you've got the tongue, I'm just coming along on the router table, taking out that material that gives us that tongue there. go, so I'm all done with this panel for now. I've got all the tongue and grooves cut into it. Everything seems to be lining up right. I've got chamfers on all of the little shadow gaps here. And yes, I'm just going to put this to one side for now. So one thing that I did do is come along off camera and just poured some epoxy into these cracks and knots. But for now I'll put this to one side and just focus back on the frame again. So that's going to be it for today's video. I'd just like to thank everyone for sticking with it and watching it to the end, and you know, to everyone who's subscribed, because I think with last episode we were about, I think it was 180 subscribers, and then since posting that we're now at 450 something. So you know, I'd just like to thank everyone for sticking by me there, and yeah, hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.